What is going on, everybody? It's Nothing But Skills here, and in today's video what we're going to be focusing on is endgame open world PVE content that is being improved in the Division 2. Now with the Warlords of New York expansion, there's a lot of new changes coming to PVE, and for all of you guys who are more PVE players than PvP players, this might be a video that you're really going to be interested on, because the way that they're improving the content, the way they're making PVE feel like it's more rewarding, that it's more fun, that there's a purpose to it, and challenging at the same time, and always giving you a new experience, is something that they talked a lot about during this last state of the game. Now also, if you guys are just a PVE player, just a farm gear for the PvP, well, this is going to be a lot of good information for you too, because talking about good rewards is always going to improve the amount of time you can PvP, right? If you can farm more efficiently, get better rewards, well, then you can PvP more. So let's dive into what they had to say.
I want to talk about difficulties and modifiers. The open world difficulties, mission difficulties, all of that. So can we start with Legendary?
Love to.
Right, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah.
Especially from an AI perspective, because we didn't
we didn't get a chance to dig into that. So Legendary, right? If you remember from, was it 1.8 in Division 1? It was first introduced there. The same concept is brought back in Warlords of New York. Now, the important thing about this is the kind of pinnacle difficulty. Whereas, like, if we look at something like the Raid, right? And the Raid is super cool, and we're super proud of the Raid, and we can't wait for the second Raid.
Oh, yeah.
To come out this spring. But the Raid is all about teamwork, coordination, puzzles, problem solving, right? And it's 8 people.
Yeah.
Legendary difficulty is all about how good are you at combat, tactically, strategically, and then all of the kind of physical skill with accuracy, aiming, all of that stuff. And you can do it either solo or 4-player. It scales.
It scales, super dimensions.
So you can do that. So it's in 3 missions. So they're the 3 original strongholds. And so the important thing is it has a brand new version of the Black Tusk that are there. So visually they'll look different.
How so?
So
you know where
you know what I'm going to.
Okay.
So the Black Tusk obviously are dressed in all black.
Yeah.
The elite version that's used in the legendary missions are all white.
They're not
so
anything
nice
different.
Maybe we call them the White Tusk.
Yeah.
But
that's not what the faction is.
Internally.
They're still the Black
They're
Tusk
the Black
faction.
Tusk. Yes,
All right,
absolutely.
Cool.
We jokingly call them the White Tusk. So they have brand new AI. So what we do is we start with the kind of core essence of each Black Tusk archetype, right? But then what we do is we look at them and we kind of pull out all the stops and say, okay, what makes this archetype fun and fair and inviting to fight against, right? Oh, well, they have this wind-up of a second, and they signal, and they do all this stuff, right?
Okay.
So what we do for the legendary variant of them is we say, okay, cool, we had that second cooldown, and like we did this. Well, what if we shortened that? What if we made this a hardcore experience for hardcore players? Like, we don't want 95% of our players to play this necessarily. We want this to be for the top 1% or whatever, right? The math works out.
Yeah, I was just going to...
But what we do is we kind of pull out all the stops, right? And we basically say, like, you know, like, pedal to the metal, like, you know, like we are absolutely like making this the most difficult AI we possibly can. And then from there, right, we scale damage and health accordingly, but we don't want the challenge to really come from the health and damage scaling. We want it to come from the AI itself.
Someone brought that up before. They were like, is it just in these legendary things going to be a bullet sponge situation? Or is it...
No, I mean, you will need to be geared properly.
Of course.
So we know exactly, like, the way that we test it, right? We have certain builds that we've been testing with a certain amount of god rolls and things like that. So there is a slight component of, yes, like, you have to have good enough gear to really be able to do it. But no, the challenge is supposed to come from the AI, right?
Okay.
And a lot of them have actually been fundamentally kind of changed as well in a way. Spoiler alert, but the tank in the legendary version of the Black Tusk, instead of having a healing hive, on his back that, you know, shoots out and heals himself when you break his armor or something like that and start damaging his health. He has a wasp hive on his back.
Okay.
And so what he wants to do is he wants to close the distance on target, so the closer he gets, the wasp hive starts attacking you, and he becomes incredibly, incredibly deadly the closer he gets to you.
Okay.
So there's a lot of those little changes that have been made to all of those AI.
So it's not just the speed of their decisions, but the tool set.
Oh, and it's the teamwork that they employ.
Yeah,
it's the kind of tactics. You'll notice that they really, really are keen to kind of try to figure out where you're vulnerable and exploit that vulnerability as quickly and as powerfully as they can.
Cool. Yeah. There's a good question. Exciter is asking, any speedrun leaderboard for legendary missions, solo, duo, trio, full group? Are we tracking completion times? I mean, we probably have the analytics on our side, but there's nothing in game for legendary leaderboards.
Yeah, so that's definitely something that we can look into adding for sure, especially if there's a big desire, which hopefully there is, but And same thing for, you know, like, will there be more? I saw a question like, oh, only 3 missions for legendary. Well, yeah, I mean, if we see that this is something that people are really enjoying, and we think that there are some really fun kind of new places to put a legendary mission, then it can be something we look into in the future.
We could do a stats with Yannick on completion times, just saying.
Oh yeah. A few people actually were asking about the rewards on legendary, and someone was just saying like, what's the point of doing harder difficulty if you're going to get the same rewards? But I think Andrada touched on that yesterday a bit with gear being changed and everything, but now difficulty also actually changes the quality of the gear you're going to get, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That also applies to legendary. Yeah.
Legendary, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the important thing to note, and I think they did an awesome job explaining, but just in case, you know, someone maybe didn't catch it or something, or didn't tune in. So, all our gear, right, can God roll. So there's a range in which every single attribute rolls. So basically what we do is we have kind of this minimum, right? And we have kind of like average rolls and things like that. And so the higher the difficulty is, we basically guarantee that you will get better and better, or less bad rolls, I should say, right? And the kind of median rolls also start improving. So can you find a completely God-rolled piece of gear on every attribute on story mode? You can.
You can.
Yeah.
It's not very likely, but it's going to be more likely if you're playing legendary, right? And in general, you're going to find much better gear in legendary than you would if you're playing normal. So there's definitely a good reason to play legendary, heroic, challenge, dark zone, open world, setting that to higher difficulties as well.
Nice. We did also talk about heroic yesterday, that there's going to be different factions. The heroic difficulty missions will no longer be exclusive to Black Tusk, and all factions will be available in heroic difficulty. That's really cool, especially as it pertains to the whole new gear roll stuff.
I heard a rumor that maybe people were tired of fighting against the Black Tusk at the time.
Eventually.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I want to move on to directives, because we actually do have some things to show. Oh, yeah.
There's 2 things. One, wait, I'm trying to remember. I had 2 things.
I had 2 things, can't remember
I had
either.
2 things, I can't remember either of them. No, someone was asking if you can solo legendary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Because
You
it
can try.
scales, like you said.
It scales.
Right? Yeah.
So in heroic scales too now. So like the important part, right, is it's like something that we really want to do in Warlords of New York is to make sure that if you are a solo player, you can play everything with the exception of the raid. So that was like really important for us. Like that you can play heroic, that you can play legendary, like you can do all of the things as a solo player. Like I myself, I'm a solo player. I don't love to like play with strangers online, and a lot of my friends don't play at the same time I do, and so I don't have any friends. No, so like.
Was that a call?
So it's
a call for help?
It's a call for help.
Please.
Please.
Drew doesn't have any friends.
So like I think it's really important, right, that that the solo players out there feel like, you know, that like all of this content is for you too. So we made sure that all of this stuff can be done in solo.
Yeah, the Bible thumbs in chat.
Okay, so that was my first thing. My second thing is just because I don't want Shadow Leo to get timed out eventually for repeating the same question over and over again, asking if there's going to be more raid after the second raid. the team is focused on the second raid right now.
Yeah.
So this is really what we want to do. We want to make sure that it's as good as possible. So that's really our focus. So at the moment, we don't really plan what comes after that. What we are looking at is just making this one as good as possible. And then where do we take it from there? It's going to be a discussion for the future.
Yeah.
Cool. And we should keep having those discussions because that's the thing. And I'm not trying to sound cheesy, but a lot of the conversations that we've had over the past year have really shaped Warlords. And we mentioned the ETF last night. But a lot of the stuff, it's not just ETF. It's
No.
people are
Absolutely.
having some, oh yeah, that was a good one. The main show gameplay footage did have a 1,000 inventory.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That was taken from a dev build.
Yeah.
And unless I am mistaken, that's not a thing.
That is not a thing. So the important thing to remember here is if you play today, you might be in the situation where your inventory is kind of full a lot. And because you're hanging on to gear and you're like, hey, I don't really know if this is useful. Should I hold on to it for recalibration later, right? The important thing to note is when recalibration stat storing rolls out with Warlords of New York, or in TU8 actually, because it will be for everyone, whether you buy the expansion or not, that essentially will hopefully be your sink for unwanted gear. And there's a little indicator too that tells you, hey, this stat is better than what you have on your bench. Put it on the recal bench. Or it'll say, hey, this item, it's trash. Like just deconstruct it, sell it, do something else with it. But hopefully that will help with that mental processing that's required, and that'll just clear out that inventory.
Can you imagine trying to manage a 1,000 slot inventory?
Oh my God, that gives me nightmares, man.
Yeah.
Please don't. Okay, so let's take a look at the directives stuff that we have, because this will be the first time that we actually show something.
Oh, cool, we have something.
Cool, yeah. We
nice.
We pulled this up. So this is one of the main missions on the New York map with the directives. Very cool. We actually did see... No, I mean, we did have it up on the screen behind us, the gameplay of the tombs stuff, where you go and find Parnell. And I know a lot of people who were here for the event have gone and made YouTube videos of that stuff that they got to play here. So there are a bunch of people who have videos about this this mission. So if you want to go on YouTube and find some stuff, it is out there. What can you tell us about directives? If people missed last night's stream, what are they? Yeah. That sort of thing.
So directives are, this sounds a little devy, but bear with me. They're player-selected difficulty modifiers.
Great.
Right, so what that means is they are opt-in. You choose to add them, as many as you would like, to make a mission more difficult and play in a different way than it did before. All for the promise of greater rewards. Right, so if you look at, say, I forget what it's called, but it's no armor regen. I think maybe it's called no regen or something like that. So if you add that, right, you're not going to regenerate your armor over time, and so that means it becomes this game of attrition, and you're really looking out for those med kits to repair yourself. Sorry, armor kits. Frederick would be so disappointed. No. And so it becomes like a very different pace to combat, right? Instead of, I'm going to face tank and like take out this last guy, it becomes, oh no, I actually need to fight from cover at all times and protect myself. And so that really kind of changes the way you play. But because you did that, and because it's a more difficult and different experience, we're going to reward you for basically opting into that. Now you can, of course, turn it off if you want, or not do it, or you can turn them all on at the same time. Because the other cool thing is that they're all interchangeable. So...
Dark Silam is pointing out the fact that when we say greater rewards, it's actually more XP.
It's more XP, yep, exactly.
But now we pointed out before, the XP is actually, if you're wanting to really get stuck into seasons, or you're wanting to get stuck into upgrading your shade levels, then you can really elect to push
XP
that
contributes more to like progression and rewards as well.
So XP in Warlords of New York is handled a little bit differently than how it is now. So global difficulty in the open world, you can up it all the way to heroic.
That's right. So the important thing is here with Warlords, right, is that now for the first time, number one, actually I should mention, once you take over a control point, it's taken over. It's yours. You're not going to lose it again. Your allies have now taken that control point, and you can fast travel and everything like that. You're not going to have the kind of random enemies kind of taking it over again. But you can...
on all difficulties?
Well, just in general.
Okay.
So it starts kind of there, which means you can take back the entire world and you can leave it kind of peaceful and serene if you want. There will still be enemies occasionally wandering through, but they're not going to own any control points, and it's going to be a pretty chill experience.
Okay.
But the important part is you now have the control yourself as the player to reset it. And you can reset it by changing the difficulty. And if you change the difficulty, it then levels up all of the entire world to a certain difficulty level. So you can say, hey, I want to play on hard, challenge, heroic even. And then when you do that, everything scales to that level. So you can play control points, you can play activities like propaganda and all the other cool things, supply drops, and all of that is at heroic difficulty, which of course means you're going to be getting greater rewards, there's greater challenge. And on top of that, directives can be applied. So you can apply directives globally as well. So you can play heroic with all of the directives on, and you can create this super hardcore experience, and you can just run around the open world, clear everything, reset it, do it again, and get all sorts of rewards for doing
That's really
that.
cool.
And I think that's the cool thing, because someone was asking if directives were only some missions or all missions, but it's actually, no, it's more than that, because
It's everything.
you can apply them to the entire world.
Exactly.
The interesting thing here is, I think, for some people that have been maybe in that crowd that's asking for like a PVE dark zone, this really is kind of, you get this, if you could treat it like it's one gigantic super long mission if you wanted.
Absolutely.
Right? Like my goal is to go from 0 to hero and see how that works out. That's really cool. I love that.
Totally.
And also there was someone, I think the name was Nu, or maybe I say it wrong, but was asking if that's also the DC missions. And yes, when we're talking about world reset and everything, it's both New York and DC.
Both New York and DC, absolutely.
Really
Absolutely. Cool. Good question. There's a new thing here where, let's say the content that you're playing, whether it's a mission, a control point, or you're wandering around the world, not everything's as it may seem all the time. That there are some surprises that will be injected into the game to make sure that every time you replay something, it's going to feel a little bit different potentially.
Okay.
And I will leave with that super vague
It is very
comment.
vague.
Can you confirm that it's hunters or not? Someone's saying hunters. I mean, of course it does sound like hunters because we've had those surprises, and I mean, for some people, jump scares. For me, included.
That's right.
Is it that?
I mean, what I'm alluding to is not hunters. What I'm alluding to is something different. But that being said, we did mention, I think I spoiled it, that yes, there will be new hunter encounters. And I can also say, they've been training a little bit. They've been upgrading themselves. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, someone is asking or saying that in Kotaku Piece, they say that the new raid is locked for players that own the expansion. I'm pretty sure I read it and they say the opposite. So just to be clear, the raid, the second raid, will be available to players, to all players basically, regardless if you own Warlords of New York or not. And what we're doing is basically we're creating a level 30 and a level 40 version. So if you own Warlords of New York and you're level 40, you're going to be in the level 40. If you don't, you can play the level 30 version of that. And as we're talking about raids, it's my turn to give a bit of a spoil. I don't know if it's a good idea, but anyway, I'll do it.
Do it.
Someone was asking earlier, will there be a raid leaderboard reset with Warlords of New York? And the answer is yes. We're going to have a full reset of the raid leaderboards. We're going to save the legacy leaderboards, so they're still there. But we're going to reset and offer a new opportunity for everyone to rank up in the new leaderboards.
Which makes a lot of sense, right? If you consider the crazy amount of changes that we're making to the RPG.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like it's fundamentally going to be, even if you play Dark Hours, again, it's going to fundamentally feel different. Because we have a completely different RPG and you're going to build slightly differently than you did before, right? No more DTE builds. I mean, it's going to feel like a different experience.
So with everything they said during the state of the game, it gives me really high hopes for not only the experience that we're going to get in missions, but also in the open world. So as a PvE, PvP player, I love playing both. this is actually some really good news. It gives me something to do while I'm farming for those PvP builds. Because at the end of the day, I play this game because I want a PvE to PvP, right? So like I'm gonna farm to find better gear to PvP. And with them adding different difficulties for the open world, being able to put that on normal, hard, challenging, heroic, whatever mission you, however hard you want to make it, you can do that. And then not only that, the directives that you can put on there to challenge yourself to play missions with like no armor kits, no armor regen, things that they showed, that's pretty cool. Then we get into the raid, and then they mentioned something about a level 30 and then a level 40 raid, because you know, once you go to New York City, you will go up to level 40. You can bump it up to level 40, so you will have a level 30, level 40 raid. I do like how they are creating 2 different raids for people who don't plan on buying the expansion and plan on staying at level 30, and then people who do plan on going to level 40. I'm pretty sure there will be a level 40 Eagle Bear, and well, we'll find out more as they continue to give us more information on the expansions of Warlords from New York. Let me know what you guys think about this. Do you guys think this is the smartest thing they've done by revamping the open world too? I don't know. I'm excited for it. I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget, if you're new to my channel, first time watching any of my videos, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on so when I release a video, you guys get notified. I appreciate all the support, everybody, but until the next one, nothing but skills is out.